Hi there, it's Tim from the Canadian Outdoor Equipment Company. Today I'm upstairs at our shop in Mississauga, and I'm going to talk through one of our Esker Hot Tents that we actually have set up in the store here in order to give you kind of the options that Esker makes and to find the one that will best suit your purposes. So let's dive in. So Esker makes winter hot tents that are used when you go winter camping, where you're setting them up and tearing them down fairly frequently. If you're looking for a tent to kind of set up and stay set up, one of the Woods Prospector tents might be a better choice for that if you're leaving that set up for weeks or months. Esker tents are more for going out for a few days or maybe up to a week, or in one location, or where you're setting them up, tearing them down, moving, setting up and tearing down. And as such, they're very, very portable. In fact, this tent, which is the Esker 9x9, packs down to this, which is a 13-pound package when all said and done. It's all made from 4-strand Army duck cotton, which is the strongest kind of cotton canvas that can be had. It provides very little stretch, so your tent keeps its shape. You don't have to worry about it sagging or drooping. It's treated for flame retardancy, mold and mildew resistancy. It complies with all Canadian fire regulations as regards tents. And best of all, they're made in Canada. So let's dive in and go through a bit about the materials and the construction of the tent. So all of the Esker tents are made from 10.10 ounce cotton canvas, and all come with a stovepipe ring installed, which you can see here. Now it's got a piece of Velcro around it, so there's a cover. So if you're not using the stovepipe, you can have the cover put on to stop rain or moisture from coming in. But then that comes off when you're using it, and the stovepipe ring can be adjusted to suit the size of your stovepipes. If it happens to be a larger diameter, these slits here can be cut so that they become slightly larger to support a larger pipe. All of the Esker tents come with a double zipper. The advantage to this is that once you're in your tent, you can leave the top part open a bit to let air flow in, and it saves you having to zip all the way from the top to the bottom. If you needed just a little bit at the bottom, you can do that without unzipping the whole thing. Let's go around and take a look at the sides and the seams. So here we can see that all these seams are double stitched and flat felled along all the panels of the tent. And there's a synthetic snow skirt on the bottom so that when you are using it out in the cold, you can pile snow to stop air from getting in or out. But then it's not going to stick to your canvas. If it ices up, nothing really sticks to this surface, so it comes off very, very easily. When you're setting up the tent, all of the Eskers are pyramid-style tents, which means there's a central pole support in the center. We'll go inside and take a look in a minute. But once you've got your central pole, what you do is you tie out these tie-out points away from the tent into the ground or into trees if you're in a forested area. We don't have it quite set up like that in the store, just due to space, but that's what all of these tie-out points are for. Let's have a look inside. So with the Esker tents, there's a few different configurations in terms of style of tent and floor space. So let's start with the basics. They come in either a pentagonal shape or a 5-sided tent, or a square, a 4-sided tent. The Arctic Fox models are pentagonal tent. Now, the advantage of a pentagonal shape is that that's a little closer to a circle than a square is. So it's a little more efficient in use of the material for the size of the tent. So the 5-sided tents pack a little smaller and a little lighter than their 4-sided counterparts. So as I mentioned, we're in a 9x9 tent, which is good for 1 or 2 people max. Depending on the size of those people, it can get a little squishy. So we always say it's good for like 1 person and their dog, or 1 person and a small child. You can get 2 adults in here, but if they're very large adults, while doable, it's going to be a bit tight. As I mentioned, the 9x9 weighs a mere 6 kilograms when packed, so very, very lightweight. If you do need something a little bigger, you can move up to the 10x10. So 10x10 tent is good for 3 adults with a stove. You can get 4, although that's a little tight. With 4 people in that stove, someone's going to have to sleep in the front across where the doorway is, which means if you're getting up in the night, someone's going to have to walk over that person. So optimally 3 people, 4 people in a pinch. Now the 10x10 when it's packed weighs 8.5 kilograms. So again, fairly lightweight for the size of the tent you're bringing out with you. The classic series from Esker are all 4-sided tents. Now those are a little bit easier to set up, especially if you haven't set up this kind of tent before. Not that the 5-sideds are difficult, it just takes a bit of practice to get really good at it, or quick at it. So the classics are square tents and come in 2 sizes, either a 10 by 10 or a 12 by 12. 10 by 10s again, good for 3 to 4 people with a stove. 3 optimally, 4 is going to be tight but doable. Whereas the 12 by 12 is good for 4 to 6 people. Weights on those, classic 10 by 10 comes in at 9.5 kilograms, and the 12 by 12 comes in at 13 kilograms when it's packed. Now there's 2 variants of the classic tent. There's the original classic, which features the stovepipe ring in the center, much as this one is, and the stovepipe goes straight up. So there's no elbows and no bends, straight up through the top of the tent. The advantage to that is that the stove always draws well. You don't have to worry about wind direction. You don't really have to worry about anything other than possibly landing embers on your tent. But that has a lot to do with how you operate your stove. But in terms of getting the stove going and keeping a good heat with it, straight pipes work great for that purpose. The other variant of the Classic is the new Classic 2, which features a stovepipe ring going out the side of the tent. So that necessitates using an elbow with your stove. But by doing that, it directs the pipe up and out away from your tent. So if you are concerned about embers or creosote on your tent, then the Classic 2 with a stove with an elbow is maybe the way to go. A couple of things to mention. These pack up small and light, but it is important when you put them away to make sure that they get packed away dry. You never want to pack a wet tent. That can, even though it's treated for mold and mildew, if you pack up a wet tent, it will quite possibly grow mold and mildew, which will degrade the fabric, so you don't want to do that. Other than that, other than keeping it dry for the season, not a lot of maintenance. You can clean these tents. They don't need a lot of cleaning because if you're out in the mud or you lent it to somebody who took it out in the mud, you may need to do some cleaning. A soft bristle brush and either mild soap or tent cleaner will do that job. And like I say, you rinse it with water and make sure you dry it thoroughly, and really that's all it takes to keep this thing going for many, many years of winter camping. So there you have it, a little breakdown on the Esker Winter Hot Tents. See you later.